Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. And today's episode is basically a poll. And the question of the day is, what's the worst sound quality you have ever heard? Sound quality. And, what were the circumstances? Who, what, where? Did you experience this truly awful sound? Now, this episode was inspired by an experience I had with truly awful sound. And I'm going to tell you what it is later on. But right now, I put this question out on Facebook just to get the wheels turning for you. Put this question out on Facebook, and some of the responses, were obvious, and some of them were like, "Whoa, yeah!" Like one guy brought up, remember those headphones you used to get on planes that were like a tube that went into the armrest? It was a purely acoustic transmission of sound. They were really, really bad, Some people would say 78 records, and then again, many audiophiles that I know at least really dig the sound of 78 records, so that's sort of an open question there. Some guy said 8-track cartridges. Again, they're all analog devices, so maybe 8-tracks are good for some people. Again, you guys can discuss this all in the comments section below this video. My friend Brad mentioned HD radio, which is supposedly digital radio and supposed to sound better than conventional over-the-air broadcast of radio. Some do, but many sound awful. So others pointed out XM satellite radio, which I would agree is pretty darn crunchy. That is pretty nasty digital transmission, low bit rate apparently, audio. So yeah, I would agree. A lot of people brought up concerts, like one guy brought up Foreigner that he heard in whatever it was 1983. It was burned holes in his eardrums, that kind of thing. Really bad sound. PA systems in general, they've gotten so much better lately, but they can still be pretty piercing and intense, overly intense. I personally try to avoid live concerts most of the time because it's just too freaking loud. Even if the sound quality is good, it's just too loud for me. And people actually mentioned some speakers, like even Magico, a very respected high-end speaker company. If they're not fed properly, they can sound pretty damn awful. So there was more than a couple of people who brought up Magico speakers, which I think is a little unfair. One guy brought up Velodyne, who makes subwoofers. They made speakers for a while, and they were pretty awful. So he says, I don't think I have a memory of what Velodyne speakers sounded like. But for me, and this isn't the ultimate in bad sound, I'm just going to mention these in passing. I think Arcade Fire, great band, but their earlier records sound pretty good, good, but every succeeding one sounded worse and worse and worse. It's just unpleasant to listen to because there's so much compression, they're so hard sounding. The National, that's another one of my favorite bands that makes worse and worse sounding records, although the most recent one is better. Booker T's solo record with the red cover from a few years ago, that's pretty nasty. That is a nasty sounding record. And it's too bad because the music is pretty good, but some artists just seem oblivious to the sound of their own records, and that's unfortunately one of them. Again, car stuff, pretty bad. Bose car stuff is not piercing or unpleasant, just kind of bloated and thick. Diffuse, certainly not transparent. So, but those are all sort of tolerable and enjoyed by many, many millions of people. Yeah. So again, this is very subjective, very personal. Somebody pointed out, actually more than a few mentioned clipped speakers that can be pretty piercing to some people under certain conditions. And this guy specifically said with a cheap, I think he said Kenwood receiver. Yeah, it's a pretty revealing speaker, so you put really crap sound into it, it's going to sound like crap. So La Scala's, may not be perfect for a lot of people, right? But for me, I'm going to reveal, what I think is the worst sound quality that people experience on a regular basis. And that is, and this happened to me, I was on hold trying to speak to an Apple technician. I have computer problems lately, and you do have the option when you call Apple to not hear any music when you're on hold, which is great, and I always choose that. But then once you're switched from somebody to somebody else, you don't usually get that option anymore. So I was on hold for 40 minutes, And the sound was classical music, and it was so distorted and so bizarre sounding and massively unpleasant. And of course, it's coming out of the speaker in my phone, which doesn't make it, well, it probably makes it less bad, to tell you the truth. So I think and especially it's weird when you think about it, it's Apple. They're like, they know technology, right? They can't have better sound quality on their Hold, which millions of people experience on a regular basis. They're that insensitive to putting their customers through that torture? I'm afraid so. So, bad Apple. Anyway, that's my guess. Feel free, of course, to add your nominations to the comments below about what is the worst sound quality you have ever heard. And I'm basically talking about music, but it doesn't have to be. And I think my work here is at last complete. My name, in case you haven't guessed, is Steve Guttenberg. And this is, if you don't know, the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Comes up 5 days a week right now, so there's lots and lots of it, practically 900 episodes here for your viewing pleasure. You can check me out on Twitter at AudiophiliacMan, on Instagram at steve.guttenberg, on Patreon at patreon.com/audiophiliac. And now I think it is that time where I say thank you so much for watching. And I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. And stay safe. Wash your hands a lot.